Don't start a conversation with, hey, hi, how are you? How's your day? How's your week? How's your weekend? That's really boring.
Why do we struggle so much at kind of selling and portraying ourselves in our dating profiles?
My favorite profile prompt on Hinge is...
Welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I am your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who want more and less from life. More deep connection, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, and more great sex. And less heartache, less conflict, less overthinking, and less stress. Creating dating lives, sex lives, and relationships that are incredible and authentic. My deepest goal is that you, the listener, can take away what you hear in this podcast and apply it to your life so that you can experience greater happiness, transformational growth, deeper relationships, and profound sexual intimacy. I believe that as men, we are capable of so much more depth than we are shown or led to believe. So join me as we get deep into this. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers. And this episode is, it's a lightning bolt for especially those of you that are really struggling with the online dating world, because, it can be tricky out there to, get matches and create a good profile and fire off the right messages and so forth. And I'm joined by Erika, who is a incredible online dating master, right? Which you're going to really get when you listen to the episode. She delivers rapid fire, a lot of incredible advice and tips and ways to basically craft the perfect profile, right? You got everything in this episode you need to know to craft the perfect profile and send off the great messages that lead to dates. There's everything inside this episode for that. As well as we get into talk about some of the, the more emotional parts of dating, why people resist writing their own dating profiles and why people rush through them and stuff like that as well. Obviously, we talk about the big no-nos when it comes to dating profiles as well. That's all kind of covered. And then we also talk about mindset, how you can, not so much how you can create the mindset, but why mindset is so important when it comes to dating. It's not all about what you do and what you say and what your pictures are like. There is also the way that you think about dating and how that affects you. And if that's something, after you listen to this episode, if that's something that you're battling with, then please reach out. I'm still open for new clients at the moment around this. And this is what I really do, is help people with their mindset, their way of thinking and their way of being around dating. So this is, what I really feel that I'm very much an expert around dating and relationships for people, is their thinking and their being, how they're showing up in their dating lives and in their relationships, and creating shifts so that we start to experience what we want to experience in that area. So feel free to just drop me a message. You can find me on Instagram at @theauthenticman_, or you can drop me an email. All the details are down in the show notes down there. But I'm not going to go on anymore. I'm going to give you everything, give you a chance to just jump into the episode and get all the wonderful tidbits from myself and Erika. Hello, listeners. I'm back for another episode, and I'm joined by a wonderful guest, someone I've been following on Instagram for a long time, laughing at her reels and the way that she dissects people's dating profiles and dating messages and so forth. So I'm sure you're going to be in for an absolute treat today. Big hello to Erika Ettin.
Thank you for having me. I plan for it to be a treat, so we'll see what happens.
How are you doing today?
I am great. It's Tuesday morning here. I don't know when this comes out, so can cut that if need be, but I'm doing great. The sun is shining. My dog is barking. What else could I ask for?
Sounds beautiful. What more can we ask for animals and sunshine?
Exactly. I'm in New York and you're in Portugal, so that's fun.
Yeah. It's a bit of a time difference, but not massive.
No.
Not too massive. So I'd love you to introduce yourself, what you do, what magic you bring to the world.
Sure. So like you said, my name is Erika Ettin, and I run a business called A Little Nudge, where I help people with all aspects of online dating. So I started my business 12 years ago. I actually used to be, I don't know if you know this, I used to be in finance. I used to work as an economist. And it took me a while to learn that just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to be doing it. You know, just because I can do spreadsheets and math, which I still love, mind you, like I still love a good spreadsheet, doesn't mean I have to sit in a cubicle and calculate things in that spreadsheet all day. And so I had been a really early adopter. Here's kind of my story of online dating. I started well before online dating became a thing, or certainly the thing it is today. I was just like, you know, I was an analytical person, and I was just like, this seems cool. I will try a new way to meet people. And I did it on and off over the years. And because of my background, I started my own spreadsheet of my own online dating stuff. Initially, the spreadsheet was so I didn't accidentally write to the same person twice online, because you use usernames back then, not like Erika or David. You use like, you know, Fun Guy 12. And so you didn't accidentally want to write to Fun Guy 12 twice. You know, you got to save room for Fun Guy 13. So, but then I started tracking things in there. I thought to myself, well, what's my response rate? If I write to somebody, what percent of people write back to me? And what's my conversion rate? If that person writes back, what's the probability we go on a date? And so I made little tweaks here and there that improved my own results. And that's when my friends started noticing and asking me, like, what are you doing that I'm not? Help me, help me. So I started writing their profiles and giving them advice, and I loved it. And so on the one hand, I was working in finance and just not satisfied. And on the other, I was doing this already for friends, and I loved it. So yeah, 12 years ago this month, actually, I quit my job and started the business. And it's the best decision I ever made.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And incredible that, you know, there's two things I'm going to say. One, I imagine that you probably spent a good amount of time on Plenty of Fish.
Actually, not that much time on Plenty of Fish. There were the main ones that were out, at least when I started online dating, were Match.com came out in the mid-90s, believe it or not. JDate, a site for meeting someone Jewish, came out in 97. I had used that. And then OkCupid came out in 2003. eHarmony was also out. So those were kind of the main ones at the time.
Okay, yeah. I started my online dating journey with Plenty of Fish after a friend of mine kind of, I noticed he was going on a lot of dates. And I was like, dude, where are you meeting all these women? He's like, I can't tell you. I was like, what do you mean you can't tell me? He was like, I can't tell you. And then one day, like after gym, I was like, come on, tell me. He was like, I'll come around yours. And we sat down and like in this really kind of cloak and dagger way, he's like, I'm going to show you this website. He was like, don't tell other people about it. Don't tell them about it. And then we went on
that is so cute. That's really, really cute. But it's funny. I mean, so much has changed in the online dating industry. I mean, when I started my business in 2011, Tinder wasn't even out yet. That came out in 2012. And so a lot has changed, not necessarily about what I do. Like I help people be better at online dating. I help you market yourself. I make sure your profile is putting your best foot forward in your picture. So regardless of what sites are out, my work doesn't change in that way. But as the years have gone on, people want faster and faster results, instant and more instant gratification. Rather than sending a message and someone responding after 2 days, they're like, I sent a message on Tinder. If they didn't respond in the next 3 hours, they must not be interested. And, you know, sometimes I have to have that conversation with people, like, give it a minute. You know, people are living their lives just like we are.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I was telling a friend of mine a story of a girl that I got to know through Plenty of Fish. Mm-hmm. And we basically sent each other like essays back and forth over the course of maybe 3 months. So she would usually reply within 2 weeks, and I would probably take a week to reply because the message was quite long and I have to go through it and answer the points and think about them and so forth. And eventually we met up and we dated for a little while, and it never really came to anything. And he was explaining how now, like, a girl will send him a message, and if he reads it and then maybe leaves it because, you know, he's at work or in a meeting, or like maybe he's just chilling the fuck out, he may get either the removal of the match, mm-hmm. or he said in very rare cases, he gets some sort of abusive message about a lack of response. Yep. And I wonder, your opinion on this is like, why is everyone in such a rush to do this dating thing? Why are they so ready to be so on the case to be kind of triggered by someone's lack of response or lack of getting back to us?
I don't know if that's just dating. I think it's technology in general. same thing with friends. I mean, you text a friend and they leave it on red, as everyone says. People want that instant communication. And so I don't necessarily think that's unique to dating. Is it annoying? Yes, it is. Because, like you said, sometimes you're just doing other things. And so why are so many people triggered by that? I don't know. I will say, though, that with all of the dating apps that are out there now, there are seemingly unlimited choices to the number of people you can be communicating with. So if one doesn't give you exactly what you want, people think that they're entitled to not only be rude, but go find what they want. And I disagree with that. These are still humans. Even though you can't see, touch their face, they still exist. And I mean, you see my Instagram. I try to preach like open communication, kindness, saying what you feel without jumping to conclusions. But I think people think they're incognito because they're behind a screen.
As if they are. It's like I'm talking through my avatar to someone else's avatar, and I'm forgetting that on the other side of that avatar, or my imaginary avatar is a human being with thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. I mean, the messages people send to me that they get or send, I'm appalled sometimes by the language in them. Like, did you think about this, or were you just trying to do it to make yourself feel better?
It's just like children reacting constantly to things they've imagined that are happening.
Well, doesn't that happen all the time in life? It's frustrating where, you do something, you don't mean anything by it, but someone assumes it happens all the time where, like, let's say you don't get back to someone and they think you're angry with them. Like, you're probably not angry with them. You probably were just eating dinner,
Yeah.
Just saying.
And this is something, for people, but this is like a big part of when I work with men is like, I'm always saying, it's like, what assumptions are you making? Because we're constantly assuming things about people that we have no idea and basis for.
Right.
Especially in the online dating world, just based on, we've seen, a bunch of characters, a few words, some pictures, and suddenly we had this whole either horrible picture of somebody.
Right.
Or this like imaginary beautiful future plus wedding plus multiple children plus multiple houses and holidays.
Well, right. And, something I would tell, if the majority of your listeners are men, I would say I often have to tell my female clients, the ones who are dating men anyway, just assume cluelessness. And I don't say that to be mean, but I tell my female clients, if they don't like something a guy did, assume they have no idea. And I would tell the men listening the same exact thing. Rather than assuming something about someone, assume the same thing. She's as clueless as we all are. Nobody knows the right thing to do these days. And so don't think it's malicious or some kind of, nefarious motive. Just think maybe this person has no idea what I want and they did the best they could. Most people don't know what you want until you tell them what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And people aren't particularly good at saying what it is that they want.
I know. I'm probably too good. I tell everyone exactly what I want at all times, which is like, I think important. But it's also a learned skill. And it also has to do with confidence. Because I think we've all been at a point in our life, I certainly was, where I didn't speak up for what I wanted because I lacked the confidence to feel like I deserved it. And once you sort of get confident enough to realize that what you're asking is really not that big of a deal. If you're asking someone to text you more, that's not a big request, and if they can't do it, that's fine. That's their prerogative, but they don't know you want that until you ask.
And then there's the story, what's happening there for someone when they are thinking about asking for that thing, for more messaging or more increased communication. They're creating a story in their mind that they're asking for too much.
Right, they're needy or whatever.
Or if the person says no, what that means about them or the relationship and the prospects for the relationship.
Yeah. Most questions I get on Instagram or often from clients will say something to me like that. Like, how do I ask for fill in the blank? I wish they had the confidence to ask the person sitting next to them the same question that they have the confidence to ask me, a stranger on the internet,
Oh, so true. It's so true. And you think that it shouldn't be, it almost feels like it shouldn't be this, it doesn't have to be this difficult. No, it shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be this difficult. But
Exactly.
it comes down to kind of what you said. It's like, it's the assumption and the story that we create that stops us from just doing the thing we want to do, what we want to do, not the reality of the situation.
Well, right. And I think that's true in so many aspects of life. Like, I don't know about you, but I work on the weekends sometimes and I never want to because it's the weekend and I want to do other things. So I'll think about the work for probably, 1.5 days of the weekend, and the other half a day I'll finally do the work. And the work is never that bad once I sit down to do it, but it's the anticipation of the thing that makes it way worse. And I think that's true for many things: work, cleaning, conversations you don't want to have. If you just sit down and actually do it, it's never really that bad.
Yeah. It's most of the stress for us is created is not in the activity, but the thinking about the terrible things that can happen around the activity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we kind of touched upon dating profiles and how terrible they can be.
And great. They can be great too. I don't want to be a naysayer.
They can be great. They can be great. That's true. They can be really good. From time to time, my clients, they'll send me like screenshots and be like, I saw this woman, her profile's amazing. I really love it. And I'm like, great, send me more of those.
Uh-huh.
But those people whose profiles are great, they don't usually need any help with the profiles.
Fair.
But why is it that as a race of people, why do we struggle so much at kind of selling and portraying ourselves in our dating profiles?
I think people in general have a hard time looking inward, figuring out the thing that makes them unique and distilling it down into a few words. A lot of people think to themselves, well, I don't want to rule anyone out. And when they do that, they end up writing this really generic profile that could be anyone. I like to go out and stay in. I like to dress up and dress down. All the stuff like whoop-de-doo, la, la, la. And so I actually do a little exercise when I'm working with clients. We both raise our hand and I'll have the client read the profile. And if I could say me personally, Erika, if I could say the exact same thing, I keep my hand up. And usually my hand is up for the entire profile because it's so generic that it could describe anybody. And then I help the client change it. And so I think that's one thing. I think people are sometimes too afraid to showcase their quirks because they don't want to be judged. But I say, be judged. I would rather the right people like what you have to say and the people who are going to judge you swipe left because you're not their person. I want people to be confident with that. People also don't really often get the concept of you have to be approachable and inviting in your profile. There are far too many negative things written in profiles. Like, if you this, swipe left. If you this, move along. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's a good practice to change everything you don't want into something you do want. If you say, I don't want a player, how about instead flipping that around and saying, I'm looking for a committed relationship? Doesn't that second one sound like just a more confident, more approachable person than go away, And so it does often take, even if you're a great writer, because I work with people who are great writers and I work with people who are pretty intuitive. I work with, I have clients who are therapists and high profile people, but sometimes it does take someone reflecting you back to you to figure out the right things to say.
Because like you said, we don't often, because we don't see our own uniqueness, because it's difficult to see our own uniqueness because we're inside our head the whole time.
Well,
right?
exactly.
We're inside our life.
Exactly. And some people say to me oh, I do these things, they're all so boring. I'm like, they're not boring to other people because you live with you. They're interesting to me. They're interesting to people you might want to date. And so it just and then, there's little things here and there that, like we were talking about earlier, people want things to happen so quickly. I think people rush through their profiles a lot and don't do, basic things like spell check. and when you have one chance to make a first impression, you want to make the best one possible. So if someone has grammatical errors or just careless errors, that speaks volumes about them that I don't think they're trying to say about themselves.
And this is something we see a lot in people's dating profiles. It's like it speaks, and I always say this to my clients, is like your profile is speaking about who you are, and the level of effort you're willing to put in
absolutely
will be translated in the level of effort you're willing to put into dates, into a relationship, into somebody else. So if you just throw on the first 5 photos that you found on your phone, is that the same way you're going to be when you go on a date with this woman? And you're just going to like, oh, there's 5 bars near my house, I'm going to choose one of those.
Probably.
And is that going to be...
Yeah,
is
but
that going to be her experience of you?
It's true. And, a lot of people ask me, well, what do I do if the person's profile is blank? That's an automatic no. I tell them it's an automatic no, because same thing like you just said, if they don't even take the time to write a word, how lazy, and then it makes you think, as a woman, if I'm looking at a guy's profile, if a client is looking at a guy's profile with 0 words, I think to myself, however this sounds, does he think he's that good looking that he can just ride on his pictures and not have to say words? That's not a positive thing either.
And it's often goes 2 ways, isn't it? It's like there is that part of arrogance that's like, oh, I'm so shit hot that, someone's just going to swipe for me. But there's also the other side that a lot of people are doing that because of what you just said there. They're what you said before was they're unable to like look inwards. So they just don't do anything.
Yeah, but I mean, let's make it analogous to a job search. Let's say you get laid off from a job and you need a new job. Are you just going to put together some crummy resume and like throw it out into the wind and see what happens? And then are you going to, if you don't get any interviews, are you going to say like, guess working's not for me? Of course not. You're going to put in the effort. You're going to do the resume. You're going to get people to review the resume. You're going to put together a cover letter. I think that's what people still do. I don't know. I work for myself. Then you send them out, and then you like put yourself together to go on the interview. And then if it doesn't work out, you do it again and again. And that's the process. And why people don't think that dating should be that same amount of effort, I'll never know. Like, I think if you're looking for a life partner, yes, work is important, but I think finding a life partner is probably more important to a lot of people. Why do they think it's just going to fall in their lap and it doesn't take the same kind of effort? It baffles me.
Yeah, baffles me too. And when you consider that there's research, isn't it, that like the person you choose to be with is like the single most important decision you make financially, especially. And you consider how much someone would go over their CV. And it is this thing, I do wonder though, there's a level of there's an emotional work to doing a profile, right? Because you've got to select some photos. You've got to be with the fact that, like, what does it mean to you? You start thinking about the rejection you might experience, the judgment you might experience, and suddenly people get anxious and they just rush through it very quickly to get rid of the feeling of anxiety and put it down. I've always imagined it's also that.
You're absolutely right. So, I mean, since we're talking about the profile, we should probably give people some profile pointers. So I recommend generally 5 pictures. Hinge requires 6. But on all of the others, they don't require a certain number. So I like 5. 1, a nice clear shot of your face. Ultimately, all people want to see is who's going to show up on the date. Okay. They don't want to see your boat. They don't want to see your, some animal that's not even yours. They don't want to see some plate of broccoli you made 5 years ago. I wish I were making that up, but that's like a thing someone sent me recently. So a nice clear shot of your face. The next one should be a full body shot. People just want to see what you look like in clothing, no shirtless. You laugh, but you know. The next one should be you doing something interesting. That's what I call for message bait. So if someone doesn't know what to write to you, at least they can pick out the interesting picture and ask you a question about it. Like, sorry for the barking. They can say something like, oh, what are you doing in front of a microphone? Are you giving a TED talk? So now you have your interesting picture. So if someone doesn't know what to say to you, they can ask you a question about that picture. Where do you play soccer? Why are you speaking in front of a microphone? What's going on there? And then just 2 pictures of you in your element. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what your hobbies are, but you out and about doing your thing. I know a lot of people ask me about, do I have pictures with friends? Okay. If you have a picture with a friend, crop your friends out. I think it's totally distasteful to put an emoji over someone's face. I just find that extremely disrespectful. And yes, sometimes women might look at your profile. Look, if it's all selfies in a mirror, yeah, she'll assume you don't have friends. But if you have pictures of you out and about doing things, I wouldn't worry about that, right? Because you're not looking at a profile saying, wow, she's so attractive. She's really cute. She seems amazing. Don't know if she has friends. It's just not how people work. They just want to know who's showing up on the date. And so those are your 5 pictures.
It's like you want pictures that people see you. And then also there's a story of your life that you're trying to portray through your pictures. Like you only have a small amount of words, and those pictures actually allow you to say far more than the words can.
Well, yeah. And if you have 5, that means each picture represents 20% of your life. So you want to make sure that each picture actually represents your life. So let's say, for example, something really simple. Let's say you wear glasses half the time. I would then wear glasses in 2 or 3 of my pictures to showcase that I might show up on the date wearing glasses. If you wear your hair differently, showcase that in the profile pictures. Things like that. Like if you've only done yoga once in your life and you never plan to do it again, don't have a yoga picture. We want these pictures to be representative of who you are.
What's your thoughts and opinions on like professional photos?
I think if you have no pictures at all, no recent pictures, it's nice if you want to get professional photos. I hate when they look too staged. We don't want glamour shots or anything. If the background is too blurred, it looks so overdone. But throwing in 1, maybe 2, if you have to, professional picture, if you don't have any other recent pictures, can be a great idea. Ultimately, I'd rather see good pictures than mediocre pictures. I would never do more than 2 professional pictures, though, because we know that's what you look like on your best day. People just want to see you on a regular day.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Because I know there's there was this real trend maybe a few years ago. I kept seeing men in particular. This is, I was living in London at the time, with very professional photos, particularly holding dogs. It's as if there was a couple of camera photographers, who would rent a dog or bring their own dog along, and they would hold the dog very awkwardly like, look, I love and care for animals, but they also look like they're slightly disgusted, and have this wonderful blurred bokeh background as well, in parks in particular.
Yeah, I'm not into that. If you're going to pose with a dog, it needs to be your own dog. The worst thing is when you ask someone like, oh my gosh, you have such a cute dog. Like, is it yours? No, it's my neighbor's friend's brother's dog. No. Dogs should only be in the profile if it's yours, and you need to be in the picture with the dog. We don't want to just see the dog. Same thing with cats, fish, whatever your pet is. If your pet is important to you, 1 picture with the pet is perfect.
How about pet fish? Like the guys that love to show their just caught fish.
Yeah, no for the fish. Unless you're a fisher person, no. And okay, I've said this before. You can agree with me or not, but I'm right. So I have to tell women this all the time. The only reason men have the fish picture, which nobody likes, okay? Put that on record. Nobody likes those. Okay, I shouldn't say nobody. 99% of women don't like them. I know that the only reason you're posing with fish pictures is because that's the only time you feel appropriate saying to your guy friend, hey, bro, can you take a picture of me? I just caught this fish. Because you're not going to do that when you're just like out and about at dinner. I get it, but still don't do it.
Yeah. Okay, so no fish. What are some
Unless that's your job
pictures?
Or you do it every weekend. No, it's slimy. It's yucky.
It's weird.
Yeah, and then it's like, I'm not going to say it. Never mind. If the fish is too big, what are we compensating for? If it's too small. Anywho.
So we know that the fish is a big no-no. What other big no-nos when it comes to
gym
profile pictures are there?
No gym pictures. And I get it. The gym is a big part of your life. It's a big part of my life too. That doesn't mean you have to. We don't care how the sausage is made. We just want to see what you look like on a regular day in clothing. Because seeing someone shirtless, in my opinion, should be earned. don't put it out there for the world to see. Like, let someone be pleasantly surprised if you work out and they get to a point with you where you want to take your shirt off. It just seems, I don't know, it both seems self-indulgent and clueless to post shirtless pictures, especially at the gym.
Got it. I can tell.
Am I being a little too frank?
No, I love the Frank. I love Frank.
Okay. I love Frank too. I like David too. He seems all right.
Thank you. I ran an experiment years ago on Plenty of Fish, actually, and I had 2 profiles because, back in those days you could.
A little A/B testing.
A little A/B testing. One profile had a really long, detailed profile talking about the music that I loved and how I like to dance on the tube and the train and the places I've been to and all that.
Okay, I'm going to guess the results before you tell me. So tell me the setup and the hypothesis.
The second picture was me. I had 3 pictures of me topless on beaches, right? Mm-hmm. And the hypothesis would be that a completely different set of women would message me on these 2 different profiles. Mm-hmm. And they would be different types of messages and the women's profiles would be completely different.
Yeah.
And I was completely correct,
sure.
actually.
Which one got more?
More messages?
Yeah.
The topless photo profile got more messages, but the quality of message that came with the other profile was far, far higher in terms of the ability to actually connect and get to know somebody.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And the same goes, that's true for men and women, because sometimes I'll see women post things with bikinis and all this stuff. And look, don't get me wrong, some women look amazing, but is that the type of attention you're looking for? Like, to me, I want everyone to have the confidence in themselves that someone will get to that point with you, but you don't have to sell yourself based on your body, which I would have said to you. And I'm sure you looked great. And many people, look, don't get me wrong. There are some very attractive people with shirtless pictures. I just don't want to see it in the profile.
Yeah. No. It's the same. I think it's one of those things that's like shifted over time. I think in the early days of online dating, when people weren't really sure quite yet about like what the kind of transmission was, you could kind of be possible to have one photo of you on the beach. But I think as, maybe I've aged as well. Like I'm in like my late 30s now. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's unnecessary. When you're kind of like 23, 25 and you're not really looking for something serious, it's possible. But when you get into a level of maturity and wanting something more mature and long lasting, like you just don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Wouldn't the reveal be more fun? Like when you're finally with a person and you want to maybe be intimate and you take off your shirts, like, wouldn't that be more fun if she was like, oh, I think that's better than advertising it to the world. Like, you can say in the profile, if you must, that you work out or you're into CrossFit or whatever you like to do. But don't show it. And so I agree with what you're saying. I think it was OkCupid once, a very long time ago. So this is extremely dated data. But they used to say the shelf life on a male shirtless picture was 25 years old. Oh, no, it was in that book, yes, Dataclysm, which was written by one of the founders of OkCupid, Christian Rudder. And I think there was a graph in there showing that for men, after 25, like, cut it off. No more shirtless pictures.
And I guess that's also problematic because a man's maturity and how his maturity grows after the age of 25 definitely seems to slow down.
Well, there were some other statistics in there I don't want to repeat because they make me sad, but sure. Okay.
Okay, so we've got good pictures now, right? And we know not what to put in the profile, right? We've ascertained that you have to write something. So what
should you put?
What are some of the questions that we should be aiming to answer? What's the tone and the mood that we're going for when we're talking about writing our own profile?
Good question. So what sites are most popular where you are?
Tinder, Hinge, Bumble.
Okay.
They're the kind of standard 3.
Okay, so let's use Hinge for the sake of example because I think a lot of people know Hinge. So Hinge requires you to answer 3 profile prompts. So a prompt is a little question you have to answer. They just increased the number of characters. Before it was 150 characters. I think it might be 180 now. Regardless, it's not much. So you have to use that prime real estate. And so what you don't want is to answer with one word answers. Let's debate this topic, cookies, whatever. So my favorite way to answer those prompts is something where you can do a list of things you like, because that way you're getting a lot of information into a short amount of space. So for example, my favorite profile prompt on Hinge is my simple pleasures. Second is I geek out on, which is very similar because you could just have a list of things. And so that way, you think to yourself, and this is how I sort of help clients start thinking about what to write in that prompt. What makes you happy? What's a thing you do every day, or a thing you eat every day, drink every day, read, watch? What actually makes you the happiest? How about on the weekend? Do you sleep in? I ask them things like that. I love asking, what's your favorite snack? I feel like I learn a lot about people's personalities from their favorite snack. What's your favorite snack, David?
Oh, favorite snack.
See?
All right, it's shifting. At the moment, I've moved to Portugal about a year ago.
Okay.
And there's a particular type of crisps that they like. You would call them
chips.
Potato chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really thin.
Uh-huh.
They're super thin and only so long.
Uh-huh.
And you can't eat them too quickly because you can't grab enough of them to put in your mouth.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Self-regulating crisps. I love it. And so that's what I sort of ask clients. No, we're not getting into their deep, who they are on the inside at their core, because ultimately you're not going to learn about that in a profile. That's to know one-on-one. So let's write a combined my simple pleasures list just for anyone listening. So I'll do one, you do one, and we'll do three or four each. Okay. So, yours are the chips, the crisps. Mine would be hummus and pita chips. Okay. Do you have a favorite drink, alcoholic or not?
I'm really enjoying kombucha at the moment, especially ginger kombucha.
I love the specificity there. So the more specific the answer, the better. Because anyone could say, I like chips or I like crisps. But if you say whatever the brand is, the thin, the this, or ginger kombucha, that's so much more specific. Mine would be a whiskey-based cocktail. Okay.
Like an old-fashioned.
An old-fashioned. That's my favorite. Yes.
Nice.
Okay. Your turn. And it doesn't have to be food or drink related. Just anything that makes you happy.
Late 80s to mid 90s Nike trainers.
Oh my God. I love that answer. That's so perfect. Are you wearing some right now?
No. I'm barefoot now in the office.
Okay. I would say mine would be sleeping in on the weekends. That's a simple pleasure of mine. Okay, one more each.
One more each.
I might actually be more specific and say sleeping until 11:30 a.m. Because I feel like if I'm out of, I can't do it often, but I feel like if I'm out of bed by noon, I still did something okay.
Yeah, that says a lot there,
Anywho, that yeah. Okay, your turn.
Simple pleasures.
Yeah,
simple pleasures.
One more.
Okay, I have a collection of banknotes from all over the world.
Wow, neat. So your collection of money. Got it. I love that. How many countries?
53.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, and my simple pleasure might be walking to Pier 6 at Brooklyn Bridge Park. It's just a really nice place to walk with my dog. And so we've just learned a lot about each other. Nothing like about our core being, but we've learned enough to be able to start a conversation. So I could ask you, do you make your own kombucha or do you get it somewhere? I could ask you about the potato chips. I could ask you any of these questions about your how many pairs of shoes do you have? I'm going to actually ask you that because I'm curious.
I think at the moment I've got about 65. It was into the hundreds at one point.
I'm so impressed. That's amazing. And so what could you ask me? So we have both planted what I call message bait. So basically we've planted seeds there that someone can ask questions about. So what might you ask me based on what I said?
I would probably, the first thing that comes to my mind is, why so specific with 11:30?
Oh, because I feel like, again, if I'm out of bed by noon, I've accomplished something. But I'm catching up on sleep.
Mm.
And I like to work.
And
I like to work out sometimes around then. So I would give a better answer than that. But okay, that's a good question. What else? What else could you ask based on what we talked about?
I'd want to know what is it about the pier that you love so much?
And I would tell you there are so many nooks and crannies in this park at the pier that it's like every time I go, I discover a new place to sit or a new patch of grass or a new place for my dog to run around. And I just feel like it's always a secret when I'm there. And I learn a little more of the secret.
And then I'm really interested now. I'm like, what's like one of your favorite places to sit and watch in the park? Exactly.
And we would get into that. And so we've planted so many seeds. Okay. So I also like for Hinge, 2 truths and a lie. I know not everyone loves that prompt, but as I tell my female clients, I'm sorry to overgeneralize, but men like to win. And so if you put a game in there, you know it's true. You'll try to win.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I know I'm completely putting you on the spot, but tell me 2 truths and a lie for you, and I'll do the same.
2 truths and a lie.
You didn't know I was going to interview you, huh?
No, 2 truths and a lie. What am I going to think of?
So the way I get clients to think about this one is I try to ask questions like, have you ever met a celebrity? Have you done something interesting on travel? Do you have siblings? I just try to ask a lot of random questions to try to get some fun stories out.
Got it. Once I was in Vegas and my friends pretended that I was a Premier League footballer to impress some NFL player who I don't know who he is at all.
Okay. That's one.
Every morning I wake up and I make fresh lemon and ginger tea.
That's 2. Okay.
And I once met the Dalai Lama.
Okay, that's the lie. Is that correct?
You're right, but I was so close. I was literally an hour away from meeting him.
I love it. But those are so good because, again, so much message bait. Because I could ask you the questions about, did it work? Did people believe that you were a soccer player? Is the lemon, whatever you make, different from the kombucha? All the questions. Okay, my 3 are, let's see. I play the ukulele. I sang the national anthem at a Major League Baseball game. And I was afraid of dogs my whole life before I got mine.
I say the singing is a lie.
Incorrect.
Damn.
Celebrating the 15-year anniversary, I sang at a Washington Nationals game.
Wow.
That was neat. I do not play the ukulele, but I may or may not have drunk ordered one on Amazon once.
Drunk order.
I don't know what. Who said that? And then for the last prompt, I like to do something about what you're looking for. So there are a lot of options on there, like we'll get along if, or swipe right if, or these are the green flags I look for. And you could be a little more serious in this one. I'm looking for someone who appreciates open communication, blah, 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 blah. And then I like to end it with something funny. So say I might say, we'll get along if you're into open communication, trying new restaurants, and, dog walks on the weekends. I'm making this up. And that I'll be the loudest laugher in the room. Or just something silly like, and that if watermelon's on sale, I'm buying it. And that I, if I see a baby on the street, I will talk in baby. No, don't do that. But just something funny at the end to lighten it up a little bit. I won't make you do yours.
Good. Oh, I was starting to feel stressed there. I was sweating and
sorry. And so you can see the trend is in all of those prompts. They're pretty light. They're pretty engaging. They're always positive. What you are looking for, not what you're not looking for. And they're short. I would still keep it under the 150 characters, even though they allow for a few more now. And you've just given people a taste of who you are so that they can start a conversation. And then you'll get into more of who you are, both in the conversation and on the date.
Wow, this is beautiful. This is like, I'm going to probably have to transcribe all of this and write up for some of my clients, because there's an element here of like playfulness, bringing who you are, but not attempting to go too deep, too quickly, but also keeping the playfulness. Like, I've got some humor. I can laugh at myself.
Right.
And I can portray myself in a way that is both light and funny, and actually clearly saying some of the things I actually want that are meaningful to me.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are under the false impression that if someone doesn't say like all of these serious things in their profile, they might assume that they're not serious, but that's not true at all. Like, people have multiple sides, and I always just recommend putting the lighter side in the profile. But I sometimes get comments from clients saying, well, they didn't say they're into like introspection or self-work or this, that, and the other. That doesn't mean they're not. They just didn't choose to say it in the profile, and that's okay.
Yeah, because there's only so much space that we have there, and we also know that people are going to judge us massively on what's there, which is also good and bad, as we said before.
Well, sure. It's just you have limited space. So I want to choose the things that really generate a conversation. The sole purpose of online dating, of the profile anyway, is to get someone to write to you or to write back to you. That's it. It's not for them to learn your life story. It's not for any other reason for someone to write to you or to write back to you. That's it. The rest you take after that.
Awesome. So people, you're now armed with how to make amazing profiles, and you should never have to ask anyone this question again.
Well, I don't know about that.
Because there's the second part about online dating. You can have great photos, you can have a great profile, and then you have to message people.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So don't start a conversation with, hey, hi, how are you? How's your day? How's your week? How's your weekend? Anything, what's up? How you doing? That's really boring. If someone does plant some message bait in their profile, use it. So ask a question about something they've written, comment on something they've written, and then ask a question about it. Every message that you send should be getting you one step closer to planning a date. And so I don't want just chit chat for the sake of chit chat. I want every message to be planning one step closer, which is why I often recommend putting a type of food or drink in your profile, particularly a drink that you like, because it makes it easier for someone to know exactly what you want to do on a date. So let's say you, as the guy, see in a woman's profile she likes an old fashioned. She's now made it so easy for you to say, well, let's go find the best old fashioned. Or I've heard the old fashioned at this place is really good. Why don't we go check it out? And so I don't want chit chat for the sake of chit chat. It's a huge frustration for women that, men often seemingly just want to be pen pals. And it's like, hey, how's your day? How's your day? How's your day? Boring, working, long. No, that's not what online dating is for. Online dating is for going on dates, not for talking about how tired you are from work that day. I also recommend, and I know this is not advice that everyone gives, but I'm pretty adamant about this. I recommend scheduling. Hold on. There he is. Say hi, Scrub. Okay. Okay. I recommend Scruffy. Hey. I recommend scheduling the entire date on the online dating site and not exchanging numbers until right before for contingencies. I find that once people exchange numbers and get off the site, the probability of actually going on the date, there's a 60% chance. And this is it statistically significant? No, but it's pretty darn accurate. There's a 60% chance that you're no longer going on that date because of a few things. One, the urgency seems to have decreased. Like once you have each other's numbers, people don't necessarily feel urgency to schedule the date. Two, there's a higher chance that someone's going to say something inappropriate or they shouldn't because they feel this sense of intimacy because they have somebody's number. It's just, why put another obstacle in front of yourself? So you, as the guy, I would recommend asking a woman out on the dating app, like, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Would you be interested in meeting for a drink next week? Then she says yes. Then you say, how about Tuesday or Thursday? I always like to give 2 options of days because inevitably one won't work. Then here's where you're going to be a gentleman. You're going to say, great. Is there an area that's best for you to meet? I'll suggest something. Okay. Most women love confidence and decisiveness. It's very frustrating when the guy is like, well, you pick. I don't know the area well. Does your Google not work? Just Google something. And if you're not sure, give a couple options.
Yeah. And I think a question though on that. So say for instance that you say, hey, let's go on a date. And the person's
no, you're not going to say, let's go on a date. You're going to say, would you be interested in meeting for fill in the blank for a drink? It's bossy when you say, let's go on a date. My wall goes up when somebody says that. Ask a question. Ask for permission. Ask for it. Okay, continue.
Got it.
Sorry.
So you asked a question and the person says no, like let's swap numbers and get to know each other a little bit better.
No, you could talk on the app a little bit more if you want to, but ultimately if they say no at that point, they're never going to say yes.
Yeah. No, I like that. People do miss people. I definitely say my experience with dating apps is that some people are there and they just want to kind of endlessly talk and never actually meet up. And those people do take you onto the phone and then you might go, hey, we've been talking for like 3 days now. Like this, how about, would you like to go for a date?
Right.
We could go in these 3 places and these 3 days, for example. And they kind of just string it along for ages and ages.
The most concrete advice I have for men is write to someone or respond to someone, do a few messages back and forth and just say, I'm really enjoying this conversation. I think it would be fun to continue it in person. Would you be interested in meeting for a drink next week? Then she says, yes, that sounds great. Then you give the 2 options. How's Tuesday or Thursday, 7 p.m.? She says, Tuesday sounds great. Then you say, is there an area of town that's most convenient for you? I'm happy to suggest something. She says, oh, thank you so much for asking. I'm in this part of town. And then you suggest something. And then you say, but if that doesn't work for you, I'm open to other suggestions. And then she says, that sounds great. And then great. And then a day before you say, in case you need to reach me tomorrow for anything, here's my number. What's yours if you're comfortable sharing it with me? She probably won't. That's okay because you have the app on your phone. And then you meet for your date. Boom. Done.
Leadership.
Yeah. Can you break that into a little segment so I can post that? Because that's how I want all men to do it.
Yeah. But it's one of the things I get with my clients most of all is they tell me is that they're talking to women and they try and do this. They try and go, yeah, let's get to this quickly, right? We've talked for a day or 2. We're both normal human beings and this isn't going to further our lives much more to just ping back our thumbs constantly. And they say, hey, let's get a date. And it's actually quite a drop-off rate for a lot of guys. But at that point, they ask and the women just stop responding.
Well, at least they know now. At least they know. They don't have to talk anymore. If someone says no or doesn't answer, that's the answer. Move on.
No, I agree. The lack of answer tells you a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. It's clear, because ultimately, talking endlessly, right?
Well, it's time for that.
It doesn't give you any more reassurance or information. It just gives you more opportunity to find a reason not to go out on a date with somebody.
Correct. Or it gives you a false sense of knowing someone when in reality, often the person you're talking to online, you might not feel the same when you meet them in person. It could be a pleasant surprise. It could be not a pleasant surprise. But the only way to know that is to meet.
Yeah. I'm all for fast meeting. It does seem to be one of those things that people can be very polarizes people, doesn't it?
Yes.
The fast meeting or not fast meeting.
I know, but my recommendation will always be to meet quicker. Because then you know you don't want to see the person again. That's information worth knowing. I have a hard time sometimes so I set up clients on dates. I for most of my clients, I do their online dating for them. They hire me to outsource. And when I'm setting up, which I know sounds crazy, but people love it because they like the instant gratification as we talked about. And then they don't have to they don't have to do the legwork and feel tired, whatever. Anyway, when a client goes on a bad date, they often say to me, oh, well, I wish we had vetted this person more in advance. And I try to impart to them, there is no additional vetting the only way to, like, the date is the vetting. You know what I mean? And so there's no additional information I could have garnered to know whether you will have chemistry with someone or not.
So you don't recommend like video dates, like a prelim video date?
I mean, if people want to, fine. That's certainly better than a phone call. But no, you can't really get body language. No, I get it. Like if you have children and you have a tough schedule, I get that a video date makes more sense. If you don't live near each other, I get that a video date makes more sense. I'm not anti-video date. But if the opportunity comes that you can actually meet each other in a timely fashion, yeah, that's what I'll always recommend.
Because that in-person meeting is like to get in the vibe, the smell, the sense, the way someone sits, the way they move.
All of that.
Priceless.
Exactly. And I really don't like the, quote, waste time mindset. A lot of people will say to me, well, I don't want to waste my time going. Well, that's a terribly negative mindset. Like it's never a waste of time, in my opinion, to meet a new person. If it doesn't go well, oh well, at least now you know. But if you're setting up all of these obstacles for yourself, phone calls and video dates to, quote, not waste time, you're going in with an already negative mindset that just will not serve you.
Yes. And I think that's the mindset, the negative mindset about dating. I'm sure you've seen this as well. It's like, it's really, like I say it to my clients very early on, actually. I was like, the only thing between you and the relationship you want is your mindset about dating.
I love that.
Like that's the biggest blocker. That's the biggest blocker for you. Between you and what you want is the way you think about dating, the way you're telling yourself it's difficult, it's hard, it's impossible, apps have ruined dating.
Absolutely.
All that stuff is bollocks, in my opinion.
And that's true for life. I mean, I posted something yesterday with someone who wrote to me and said, oh, I'm just so unlucky. Well, I don't believe in luck. Yeah, bad things happen sometimes, but it's all about how you handle situations and your outlook. Like, it's interesting. I think people look at me sometimes and think she's really lucky because I'm living the life I want to be living. I'm running the business I'm a happy person. I'm not lucky. I've put so much hard work into everything I do, and negative things come up all the time, but it's how you handle those things. And I just think so many people have that woe is me complex where, things happen to them versus you actually making things happen. And, I'm not a therapist. I can't teach people how to change their mindset, but I can note that your mindset, like you just said, really impacts your dating life and your life in general.
Yeah. And, mindset is a big part of the work I do. And it is remarkable. I was just talking to my partner. My partner's also a coach.
Okay.
And we were talking about how it is, our conversations are a real hoot sometimes. And I can almost tell you within the first 2 sessions of coaching with a client how their journey is going to go after that, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's the people who have the mindset of like, I can do, or I can change, or this can transform, right? Versus the people whose mindset is like, nothing works.
Right.
This won't work. Nothing works. I can't do that. That's too hard, or I'm too busy.
And then they'll find things to prove themselves right.
Yes. And this is what the dating world's full of, right?
Absolutely.
It's people looking for ways to prove to everyone else that dating is impossible and hard.
Correct.
And there's no good man or there's no good woman.
Correct. Yeah. And that's frustrating, I'm sure, for you as a coach, for me as a coach, because I want the best for everyone, but I can't get in someone's brain and make them see the silver lining instead of the gray cloud. I can't. I try.
Yeah. And it's hard work.
Well, it's hard, especially because you probably see this too. A lot of people think, I say this a lot, like your dating life is not just as good or as bad as your last date. Like I'll have a client who maybe goes on 10 dates and the last one is just horrible for whatever reason. They'll be like, I hate dating. It's in the tubes. And it's like, how about the other 9 where you really liked the second one and the 5th one? Like how quickly we forget.
It's like perspective. It's keeping perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I wanted to jump on something that's seen has come up. Most of my clients are male, but I've got a few clients that are female that I work with. And I see this something for a number of the women I work with is what I call like the kind of female dating pity party, where groups of women get together and they sit and they talk about how horrible dating is and how terrible men are and yada, 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 right? And we've all kind of heard this or seen this. And what's really interesting, one of the women I spoke to after I'd coached her for a while, she was like, she was like, I don't think I've actually had any negative experiences from men, but I spent so much time in groups of women complaining about dating that it's convinced me that men are really bad at dating and they treat me really terribly. And I wondered, like, is this something you've experienced through your clients as well?
Yes. I don't know what else to say. Well, and, I would, and my friends, I would say 75% of my friends are women. And they know not to complain about dating to me because I am the wrong person to complain to, because I immediately go into coaching mode, which drives them nuts. And so, but you're absolutely right. So much is the company you keep also. And you want to think that your friends have your best interest at heart. I'm not convinced of that all the time. If you have a single friend, maybe she wants to keep you single for whatever reason. And so I'm not saying everyone has, look, there are amazing people out there, but these pity parties are not healthy.
I guess the last thing I want to kind of touch on is the way that people have this kind of box ticking exercise with dating. It's like they have this long list of these things that they want, and they're kind of looking, are they looking for someone who's ticking these boxes, or are they looking for people who don't tick these boxes so they can, reject people and say there's no one good in the world and so forth? Like, what's your kind of opinion on the box ticking?
I hate check boxes. I think it's silly. People are just looking for reasons to exclude people left and right. How about think of a few things that might be important to you? I don't know what those are for each person, but then beyond that, give yourself some wiggle room. Is it really going to matter in the end if a person is an inch shorter or taller than you think you want? Like, dating is not ordering sushi. You can't have a menu and just like click off all those things. Like, I want spicy, crunchy tuna. I want a full head of hair. Come on. People are people. And I would rather people look to include people rather than exclude them. So I've been watching Love is Blind, which is not how one should date, first of all. But the one good thing I see of it is that it does show what's important. So like, for example, someone on there who I haven't finished yet, so I hope things don't go downhill with them. But Brett, who's on there, seems great. And I believe he doesn't have a college degree. And the woman he chooses says at some point, like, I would have excluded him online because I was only picking people with a college degree. Yet he's worked his way into, being very successful, and he's passionate about what he does and all of that. And so when we take away those check boxes, I think we're just more open to seeing people as people. I also find it frustrating when people say, oh, he's not my type. She's not my type. Well, it's very easy to get yourself in a pattern of doing the same thing over and over. And I do find that when we go out with our quote type, we tend to miss everything else because we're so attracted to somebody and we miss all the red flags. Whereas when we go out with someone who may not be conventionally who we're attracted to physically, we tend to see the person as more of a whole person, which ends up being better in the long run.
I often say to people about type, I always go, how's your type been going for you?
Yeah, I don't like, I get that. I don't like to do that to people because that sounds mean, but I understand where you're coming from. I do say things like, in the past when someone has been your type, have you missed things before? Have you overlooked things because you were so I try not to like rub it in their face, but I do understand what you're getting at.
Yeah. Because sometimes we just keep choosing the same type of person in some strange hope that we can have a very different outcome when actually it's part of the flaws that we're attracted to that cause the breakdown of the relationships.
And most people, most of my clients who end up in relationships say to me, thank you, I wouldn't have chosen this person on my own. I wish I could buy a billboard to say, like, give people a chance, blah, blah. Because when I'm running people's online dating accounts for them, if if their criteria are so strict that I just feel like some trained monkey swiping for them, that's not me doing my job. Me doing my job is reading the profiles and picking out people who I think they'll get along with, not because they've told me every little criteria under the sun, but because I understand the client as a person and think I have a good sense of who might make them happy.
To expand their horizons.
I do the best I can.
Wow. Thank you, Erika. This has been,
it's been fun.
Incredibly insightful.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah. I could say for hours, to be honest.
I could too, but unfortunately, got things to do.
Work calls.
What? Yeah, work exactly.
Calls.
Work calls, the gym calls, all the things. My dog calls. So,
so how can people, the listeners, get in contact with you and work with you and find out more about the wonderful work that you do?
Everything is under A Little Nudge. So you can go to alittlenudge.com. You can follow me on Instagram at A Little Nudge. On both, there is a little form you can fill out to sign up. I offer everyone a free 20-minute consultation call where we can talk about how we might best work together. Or if you're interested in just getting a little taste of coaching with me, I do offer a 40-minute coaching session through Instagram that you can just sign up for right through the link in my bio. But yeah, if you're curious, definitely feel free to reach out for that free consultation. And that's at A Little Nudge.
Awesome. Thank you, Erika. Thank you for your time. And listeners, I'm sure that you've taken a lot of value from today and you go over and follow Erika. But also, if there's something you've learned from today, please reach out to either of us and let us know what that is.
Absolutely. And David, thank you for reaching out. And I love doing this kind of stuff. So I appreciate your reaching out and asking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, listeners. And until next week, I will see you later on.